Hi guys, this is Unit 1, Lesson 7, Scatter Plots and Trend Lines. The objective is I can use a scatter plot to describe the relationship between two data sets. Okay, so let's look at some vocabulary. First word, positive correlation. That basically means a relationship between two variables that move in the same direction. Negative correlation, a relationship between two variables that move in opposite directions. Zero correlation or no correlation is when there is no relationship between the variables. And finally, a trend line, also known as a line of best fit, is a line used to represent the behavior of a set of data to determine if there is a certain pattern. Alright, so here's our first example, positive correlation. We are looking to see what is the relationship between the hours after sunrise, X, and temperature. So just even think back in the real world. When the sun is out, as the day progresses, it gets warmer in the day, typically. So you can see here that as the hours of sunrise increase, right, they go up from 2 to 4 to 6 to 8, the temperature is also increasing. This means the relationship between these two variables is a positive correlation. Next, we have negative correlation. What we have here is we are looking at the relationship between the hours after sunset, X, and the temperature, Y, shown in the scatter plot. All right, so we can see here, and just think even in the real world, right? When the sun goes away, what typically happens to the temperature? Well, it gets colder, right? The temperature drops. So as the hours increase, right, after sunset, so after 2 hours pass, 4 hours pass, 6 hours passes, right, you will notice that the temperature drops. Therefore, the relationship between the two variables, temperature and hours after sunset, is a negative one. Negative correlation. Finally, let's look at what zero correlation and no correlation means. So we see here that we are looking at the relationship between the hours after sunset, X, and the amount of rain, Y, shown in the scatter plot. All right, so regardless of how many hours passes after the sun has set, the amount of rain is not affected, right? So it doesn't matter if it's been 4 hours or if it's been 10 hours after sunset, the rain just continues to fall. Depending on what it typically is going to fall that day, right? So you can see that all of the points are all over the place and there is no type of pattern here. When you see no pattern, that means there is zero correlation. All right, now your turn. Let's try and describe the type of association in each one of the scatter plots below. Let's start with A. You can see that the points here are all heading in a general direction. If I were to draw a line to sort of trace where they're heading, you will see that the line is increasing. Therefore, as the variable X increases, the variable Y also increases. This means there is a positive correlation. Let's look at B. We can see here that there is no real typical pattern, right? We can't see the dots going in the positive direction or going upward. We don't see it going downward. They're just kind of scattered all over the place, right? So this means that there is no correlation or zero correlation. And finally, we can use trend lines or what we call lines of best fit to help us predict data in a scatter plot. So for example, we have a set of individual data points here on our scatter plot. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to try and draw a line through as many of these points as possible. So I have my ruler here and I can see that it's kind of sort of heading in this direction. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my line. And we can see that our correlation or our relationship here is a positive correlation, right? So let's see, if we are predicting the year starting from 2000, that's 0. Therefore, at 4, I'm assuming it would be 2004, 2008, 2012, 2016, right? We can use this line to predict maybe year 5. Let's see, 2005. So actually 2006, right? Between 4 and 8 would be 2006. And so if we go up, a good prediction of the amount of hybrid cars sold in 2006 would be a little under 200. So we can say 190, right? All right, so let's summarize. If a relationship it has a positive association, you will see that both the x variable and the y variables will be both increasing. Right? This one is going up as this one also goes up. If it's a negative correlation or association, you will see that as x is increasing, what is happening to y? Well, we can tell that y is decreasing. So one goes up as the other one goes down. And in a graph, you can see it by seeing an upward line if it's a positive correlation, or downward line if it's a negative correlation. And finally, if there is no identifiable pattern, then that means there is no correlation or association between the two.